So I'm going to put myself out there and share my women's health journey just to help people understand. So, first of all, I would like to tell you that I am an SA survivor from childhood through adulthood at the most extreme level, much like our president, or future president, again. Which is why it hurts that he was voted in, despite what he has done. It's very triggering. Like, literally every time I see him, it's triggering. But my reproductive journey. My first hemorrhaging was probably in middle school. I'm not saying my first cycle. Cycle is different than hemorrhaging. Went to so many different OBGYNs trying to figure it out. I think I was on 13 different birth control pills trying to get it under control. I got pregnant at 24. I miscarried in my OBGYN's office. That was my first pregnancy. I didn't have so I miscarried, and then before I had my next cycle, I was pregnant with my daughter, my oldest, who is 17, 18 in a few months. And after that, I got pregnant again, and I miscarried, and then I got pregnant again, and I was about 6 months pregnant when I noticed that the baby wasn't active, so with my son, and I went to my OB appointment, which was the following day, and there was no heartbeat. It was pretty devastating. My doctor cried. He shared his compassion as his wife had experienced this twice. And there were two different outcomes. One, she was able to she was able to have a D&E, which is a type of abortion, where you go to sleep, they go in, they open up your cervix, they remove the pregnancy, and all the pregnancy remains. The other is full labor and delivery. Now, I live in Chicago, and our laws are better than most places, and still are. But since I was 6 months along, I was forced to go through labor and delivery, which was very traumatic, and I still have nightmares about it. Despite him already being dead, I could not get a D&E or abortion. So then I got pregnant again, and I miscarried. And I got pregnant again, and we did some testing, and it turns out that I have an MTHFR gene mutation. And at that time, I had to take blood thinning injections into my stomach every day. And then before my labor and delivery, I would have to go on a high concentrated blood thinner for 48 hours before my scheduled delivery. Now, should I go into labor before my scheduled delivery, I could bleed to death. So, I was under very close care. Gave birth to a very healthy baby boy who has just turned 14. I got divorced. I had been dealing with chronic pain since my first living child, since that pregnancy. But I was just told it was my hormones. And then I met my now husband, who is the love of my life, and he is my rock and my advocate, and I love him dearly. And I was very sick. I have a lot of health issues, and I was on some very, very intense medication and high doses of it. And we found out that we were pregnant. And I spoke to my regular doctor, my specialist, and my OB, and given the dosages of the type of medication I was taking, it would be catastrophic for the fetus. And because I was already sick, my health was deteriorating rapidly. Mind you, getting pregnant has been a very difficult and traumatic journey. And I was getting older, and I had to make the tough decision to terminate my pregnancy. So, at 8 weeks, I went in and had an abortion. I was sedated. And while they were doing that, they put in a Paragard IUD, which is a copper hormone-free IUD. After getting that implanted, I started getting vertigo, and it was really bad. Turns out I'm allergic to some metals. So I had that removed, and we got pregnant again. And I have a very healthy 6-year-old son. The science had advanced, and I was only required to take baby aspirin while I was pregnant. His birth was pretty traumatic. He had the cord wrapped around his neck 3 times.
Super need help.
I now have chronic pain. I've had multiple fusions. I have POTS. I have finally been diagnosed with hypermobility. And I've had countless surgeries. Well, my husband gave me the best Christmas gift ever after we had our son, and he got a vasectomy. In and out, very easy. Because all of my births have been natural, it would be an intensive surgery for me to get my tubes tied. And I'd already had a lot of reproductive complications. I had cysts at one point. I also had cervical cancer. I ended up getting a LEEP procedure done. And shortly after, 2 days later, I started hemorrhaging, and my husband had to call an ambulance. It was that bad. And I remember going to the hospital. I was in and out of consciousness. I was laying in a pool of my own blood, and I remember my husband coming into the emergency room and pleading with him that I didn't want to die, and I was scared. And I was told I was just having a really heavy period. I was sent up for observation to labor and delivery, and I didn't get any answers, but when I went up there to use the restroom, I passed a softball-sized clot, and I coded in my husband's arms. And he thought I was dead, and I was so scared. But because I live in Illinois, I, without my husband's input, had the option to have a radical hysterectomy. And I would not be here if I did not have that choice. I would not be here if I didn't have the other choices. Women's health